Well, I'm back. What the hell happened while I was gone? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100K on this channel by the end of the year, so it'd be much appreciated. This is the first video I am recording in a few days outside of a Game 4 post-game recap with me and Nicholas Henkel, aka Motown Noah. We did a video talking about Game 4 because we went to Game 4. That's going to be posted soon, but it's weird with the context of Game 5 because there's some things in there that did not age well. And I'm going to probably be doing a post-game recap on Game 5 as well. I just was not able to watch it live due to my scheduling coming back on Tuesday. So just look out for that. So what the fuck? the NBA had a hell of a handful of bombshells happen today. The two biggest ones that stand out are the injury things, and I'm going to focus on those. There's the Nelson guy from Dallas, Don Nelson, getting fired from he was either fired or mutual parting ways. I can't remember. Same difference. No longer the GM of the Mavericks, and their front office has had some stuff. There was a report that came out saying there's concern about the future of the Mavericks with Luka, which is like he's in his second year, but at the same time, I can't imagine that's just completely invalid. Outside of that, there is Scott Brooks being fired, which is a good thing, and Stan Van Gundy being fired, which is a good thing. So, not much to say outside of that. Also, LaMelo won Rookie of the Year, which that was my pick by like a 2% margin. If it went to Edwards, would have been okay. I don't feel strongly about who won that award. But the things that stand out are particularly things that matter for in the moment, not the future. Like GM, coach stuff, that doesn't really matter right now. What matters right now in the present moment is injuries to two of the best playoff performers right now, that being both Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi has some sort of ACL injury. Now, if it was an ACL tear, I think we'd know that. And if that was the case, he's just fucked for the rest of the playoffs. But an ACL injury of some kind really makes you think probably not going to play the rest of this Jazz series. And tied 2-2, I don't expect the Clippers to win another 2 out of these next 3 games without Kawhi Leonard. Now, I will say if they do that, it's going to be coming off of the back of Paul George and Reggie Jackson as well. So Paul George definitely stands to gain a lot of acclaim and attention and positive comments in his direction, which he has not had in a while, if he does manage to pull that series off. But I seriously doubt that, so probably means Jazz in the conference finals and the Clippers are fucked, because as much as I think Paul George is over-criticized in the playoffs. I know he's been good in the Jazz series thus far, other than game 1, I think it was, where he played really bad. He's not going to single-handedly beat the Jazz. I just don't think he has that in him, with the Clippers roster not being amazing. They just need Kawhi. So that's what that means. Obviously, the Suns have already advanced to the conference finals. I guess what you can hope is that the Clippers manage to win one of the next 3 games, and that becomes a 7-game series, because Chris Paul is not injured. I think I might have said he was, but he's not. He has the coronavirus. So that means, now it depends on if he's vaccinated, how quick he can actually come back. I don't know the science on that. I'm not going to pretend to know. If it's 2 weeks, there's definitely going to be a few conference finals games that overlaps and Chris Paul does not play, but I think it's definitely very well possible he plays like the second half of the conference finals. And being that it's the Jazz, if it was the Clippers, I think the Clippers playing the Suns without Chris Paul could win that in 5 games. And really the only game they'd lose would be because they did something stupid, because the Clippers tend to do that. That's just their MO at this point. But a Jazz team, I could see, like, let's say Chris Paul misses the first 3 games of the series. I could see the Suns without Chris Paul taking a game off of the Jazz. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, especially with the way Cameron Payne has stepped up. The fact that Devin Booker, I mean, Royce O'Neal's a fine defender, but I don't think he's going to slow down Devin Booker, and particularly. Yeah, I just don't think that it's impossible for the Suns to take a game out of the first 3 versus the Jazz. Versus the Clippers, maybe. And that'll be because of a fuck up on the Clippers' part, not because the Suns, unless they just do pull off a crazy performance. This is all speculation at this point. But yeah, this is not a great position for both of these teams. And it's interesting because that was my conference finals matchup prediction. Not for the entire playoffs in general, but once the second round became what it was, I predicted the Clippers to win the Jazz series, even after they went down 0-2. And it very much looked like they were making the progress towards that because they tied it up. Everyone was on my back because going at me because I said I still think the Clippers win the series after they went down 0-2. If Kawhi Leonard doesn't get injured, they win that series, in my opinion. They going down 0-2 is just something the Clippers apparently like to fucking do for some reason. So yeah, that's a side tangent. It's been a while since I've recorded, so it feels weird. It's been 4 or 5 days. So Chris Paul injured, or not Chris Paul COVID, Kawhi Leonard injured, which at least means he's out for the series. If it's an ACL tear and that comes out, that just means he's done for the playoffs. And if he's done for the playoffs, the Clippers are done for the playoffs. And they're probably done for the playoffs anyways because Paul George's not going to be able to carry the Clippers past the Jazz, I don't think, for the next 3 games of that series. Phoenix, I think, can win a game, but I don't think they can win a series without Chris Paul. So the Jazz might have just found themselves a path to the finals. Like, of course you never root for injury, and Jazz fans don't have the best track record. But I would hope that at least a good portion of Jazz fans aren't happy about the injury news. But at the same time, your path to the finals got pretty damn clear because you're going to have at least a couple games without Chris Paul versus the Suns, and then now you don't have to play Kawhi Leonard for the rest of the first round matchup. So the Utah Jazz actually come out of this looking pretty nice. So that's not much to say about it. It just fucking sucks. Like, Chris Paul in that Nuggets series was unbelievable, especially in the last 2 games. He was just going, and I expected them to do that in the first 2 games. They didn't really need to, but the last 2 games of the series versus the Nuggets, they just went at Jokic in the pick and roll. And here's the thing. Be critical of Jokic for that all you want, and you should, but Chris Paul shot like 80% from mid-range in those last 2 games, at least. I don't know what the actual numbers say, but he shot at least 80% in that series, or in those last 2 games, with the drop coverage, which gave him the space. But there were even shots that were contested well by Will Barton on a late closeout, and it just didn't fucking matter. Chris just made everything. And to see him come off of a series like that, this is probably one of the best teams he's ever been on. The best team that he is the best player on, in my opinion anyways. This is a better team than any of the Lob City Clippers. The 2018 Rockets were better, but that was James Harden's team as King of the Fourth Quarter made a point to point out. Chris Paul-led team, this is the best Chris Paul-led team that I think there's been, which is crazy because he's like 36, 35, 34 years old, something like that. I think it's 34 or 35. For him to do that at this age and then just get COVID, that just fucking sucks, dude. I can't imagine he was doing anything too reckless in that regard. I imagine he's vaccinated, although there's some speculation on that, because you can still get it if you're vaccinated. The consequences for him are not going to be bad, and the ability to spread it is not as bad as far as I'm aware. So, like, the risk of him playing is not what it could be. However, you're not going to play him, obviously. That's just not going to fly. So this is just rough. I don't know what the actual recovery period ends up being. I think if you're vaccinated, it doesn't necessarily have to be 2 weeks before it's just completely out of your system. But I also don't know what the actual timetable on that is. So it could be up to 2 weeks. And in that case, the Suns are probably not looking great. And the Clippers, Kawhi injury, that just fucking sucks. So yeah, not good news for the NBA today. Good news that Scott Brooks finally got fired. Good news that Stan Van Gundy got fired. Don Nelson is whatever. I think he's fine historically, but he's not a great GM either, and they're in a position where they need to make some pretty big moves, so maybe get an upgrade in that regard. But yeah, that's just a shitty day for the NBA, shitty day for playoff enjoyers. It just sucks. That's the end result here. Is this just sucks? I guess shout out to LaMelo for winning Rookie of the Year though. Oh fuck. I should also mention LeBron just went on a Twitter rant about how these injuries, obviously Chris Paul's just COVID, but the Kawhi injury in particular is a result of the amount of games in such a short amount of time, and I don't disagree with him in that regard. A lot of people are making fun of him, like, oh, you're just saying this because you lost. But, like, no, he makes a good point. Don't just give him shit because he's LeBron. He's making a valid point and deserves credit for that valid point. So, yeah, that's the video. This sucks. Goodbye.